Welcome back, viewers. It is I, James Kalm, your half-assed art reporter. We're out on a Thursday afternoon in the Ides of March. We're going to run in here to Ruttkowski 68 and take a look at a Phil Frost exhibition. Stay tuned. We'll make our initial sweep of the installation here. I was just glancing through the press release, and they talk about how Phil is using doors, and well, they're actually saying that these are some of his studio doors. This is titled Draped Bust of Seven Tail Feathers, 2016-2021, synthetic polymer, emulsion, spray enamel, collection fluid, ink, paper, various found materials, on canvas, on found wooden door. I guess I started seeing Phil's work, oh gosh, it's gotta be maybe 18 or 19, 20 years ago. And I guess at that point he was one of the kind of street artists, but more of a kind of an outsider version even of the street artist, in that he was using a lot of stuff besides just spray paint. Okay, so this is something weird. I don't know if that's a piece of an oar or some furniture. Oh, we've got some coins in there. Draped bust staring into depths of consideration. Okay, so this is 82 by 33 and 1/8. And, well, Phil does collect a lot of interesting stuff. Something with barnacles on there. Oh gosh, is that a Colorado license plate? And the dating on this says that he started these in 2016 and then kept working or came back in and made some adjustments in 2021. I was talking to Benno, one of the proprietors here, and he was saying that Phil actually did this series of work 2016. And then he came back in and poured on this layer of resin. So you've got, gosh, it looks like maybe an inch of clear resin on here. This piece is titled Draped Bust of Blood-Striped Trousers. Okay, so I got some palm fronds and other things. I think that Phil is from somewhere here around New York, maybe upstate somewhere, and has traveled around. I think he's now living in Florida. This is a rung badge of hardiness draped as bust. So he's kind of using the bust theme as a standard motif for this selection. Anyway, so I think Phil was from somewhere around here, maybe upstate. And at some point he went out and was spending time in Northern California, in the Bay Area, and from what I understand, he was actually kind of involved with the mission school, particularly Barry McGee and his wife, Margaret Kilgallen. Bull sable, whipping wrists draped as busts. .96 by 36. Okay, and we've got these little cans of something here. Looks like creosote or something. Also, if you look at these pieces, you notice that Phil uses a lot of this matte white, and as I understand it, that's actually white out or liquid paper or something like that. And I asked the gallerist why he would go to the trouble of using that stuff. Why couldn't you just use white oil paint or acrylic? And he said there was something about the liquid paper surface that was unique. And even though it took him a lot of extra time to put that in there, that he needed that surface. Okay, we'll wrap up looking at this diptych. Hegemony Coalescing, 2016-21. This is 79 by 80 inches. Well, as I say, I started seeing Phil's work years ago, and I remember going to a show where he had collected a bunch of old baseball bats. And I believe they were like Little League baseball bats, or at least old antique baseball bats, vintage baseball bats. But he had dozens of them. Oh, and I see we've got a little baseball thing there. Maybe Phil's an old baseball player. Anyway, he had collected a bunch of these and then was using them in his installation. And, well, it was very impressive. Actually, I'm also thinking that although Phil is using this kind of this mask or this face form on all these pieces. He's getting a lot of mileage out of here because he's able to play with that in a lot of different ways. And yeah, so he's kind of collecting various items, things, designs. It's an old paintbrush. And he's also collecting like his star patterns and other things, putting them all together in a very robust, I would say almost sculptural way. So this has been a quick look at Phil Frost and Interstitial Stint. Ruttkowski 68. Okay, it's getting near closing time. We're going to try to run in here to Newbury 125. And we're going to try to get a run through in here of Dine, the 60s. Well, we'll start here. This is titled Things in Their Natural Setting, first version, 1973. This is acrylic on canvas with objects. Okay, so we've got your painting, which looks like grass, but it could be Abstract Expressionism, kind of like Milton Resnick. And then we've got our objects. That looks like gardening tools. And our wire. 71 by 59. Here's some of his color charts. These are watercolor and graphite on paper. Now, I believe that the Gray Art Gallery organized an exhibition about, maybe 5 years ago, titled something like Inventing Downtown. And so they talked about all the alternative spaces and the various other art venues down there. And Dine was one of the main players. This is titled Four Rooms, 1962, oil on canvas with objects. Okay, so we've got a little old chair. I guess that's been painted. Anyway, Dine was one of the wacky movers and shakers. People like Red Grooms, Klaus Oldenburg, Bob Thompson. And he was doing some performance pieces. Actually, I'm looking at this and thinking about some of the more conceptual-based artists. It's interesting to see the way that he's playing with the ideas of the four rooms, but also different surfaces, different mediums. We've got canvas, we've got some, I guess that looks like stainless steel, and the colors. This makes me think of Tom Wesselman. Okay, this is a very classic piece. The Studio Landscape Painting, 1963. Oil on canvas with wooden shelf and painted glass, tin, ceramics, and wood. I'm actually surprised that this isn't in a museum somewhere. I'm actually a friend of the Jim Dine studio on Instagram, so I'm always seeing pictures of him in his studio. I think it's out west somewhere, maybe in Oregon or something, but and I don't know how old Jim is at this point, but he's getting up there, but he still looks like he's pretty vigorous and engaged in his painting. And again, we've got almost like an index of various things, different kinds of surfaces, thick chunky stuff, watery stainy stuff, pointless dots, post-impressionism, minimalism. It's titled Jane. $1969. It's acrylic on canvas with objects. 8 feet 8 inches by 78 inches. Okay, so there's Jane. Kind of looking at this and thinking about Mary Heilman somehow. And okay, we've even got our little sawdust that's left there. I saw this online and I thought the painting was probably about 4 by 3.5 feet, something like this. When you see that it's like 8 feet tall, it's a whole different thing. This is 5 silver ties. 1962, oil and aluminum paint and neckties on canvas. Okay, well, I like the metallic paint, but it also makes me think of some of Jasper John's cast metal pieces. Oh, I think it's probably past closing time. Four 4.25 pallets with mirrors, 1963. Oil and charcoal mirror on canvas. This is 35 by 93. Okay, so this is the kind of early Jim Dine that I remember seeing in the magazines when I was a kid. Jim was a very good draftsman, and yeah, this motif of the palette is something that he's been using for, I think they were talking about he's working on his 7th decade of his art career, so Yeah, he's used that a lot. Actually, let's look at the sculpture. It's titled Boot Lying Down. Cast aluminum cushion and painted wood base. It's actually very elegant. Okay. Guess what the title of this one is? Tie parts. Oil on canvas with tie. 70 by 60 inches. I was thinking, strangely enough, this is kind of pop art, Neo-Dada, but it also kind of verges into minimalism. And, well, we went and saw Robert Ryman's show from the early 60s a couple of weeks ago. And there are a lot of pieces where he was painting over various things with his signature white. In this case, we've got kind of a grayed out maroon. This is The Blonde Girls, 1960. Oil and charcoal and a rope on canvas. Six feet 6 inches by 8 feet 4 inches. Well, I like the ruggedness of these canvases. They look like they've been sitting in the back of the studio for 20 years. Also, I'm thinking his cruciform shapes make me think of a whole bunch of pieces that Joseph Beuys did back in the 60s. And I think I heard somewhere that one of the reasons that Jim uses a lot of his objects and things in his work is that his father had a hardware store, and he used to work there and have to stock the shelves and make sure they had enough nails and hammers and stuff and all the displays so they could sell them. Also like the scruffy text. I think we're going to end up looking at this one. Car crash. 1959, 1960, so I believe this is probably the oldest piece in the show. $60 by $64. Okay, this definitely makes me think of some of the Italian. It wasn't nouveau realism. One of the Italian movements where they were using a lot of burnt and stressed papers and sewing a lot of things together. I think the car wreck or something like that was also the title of one of his performances. You're going to be closing now. Okay. Thank you. So this has been James Kalm reporting on Jim Dine, the 60s. Here at Newbury 125. You can like this, share, and link it up to our social media sites. And you can subscribe. You can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, reviews, suggestions below. As long as you say thank you, Kate. All right. right. Twisted wrist.